Well, good evening. I'm Mayor Rich Hill from the Village of Round Lake Beach. We're doing another fireside chat tonight. And tonight our pleasure is to have Chief Greg FORMICA from the Round Lake Fire Protection District. Greg joined the Greater Round Lake Fire Protection District in 2015 after a 30-year career with the Grays Lake Fire Protection District. In September 2016, Greg was appointed Fire Chief of the department. He has a master's degree in business administration and an associate's degree in fire science technology, and he's currently a certified Chief Fire Officer through the Center for Public Safety Excellence. For the last 32 years, Greg has been an Illinois EMT paramedic. He currently lives in Grays Lake with his wife and 3 children. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
We also have our panel over here tonight. I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Good evening. I'm Gary Letterman, Commander with the Round Lake Beach Police Department. Thank you for attending tonight. And these are members of the CAT team. Community Action Team is a team that was put together probably about 15 years ago here. Concerned citizens who live in the area who basically come to the police department to help us out. They're eyes and ears, and they also volunteer for various events. I'd like to introduce themselves.
I'm Dorothy Papachristos.
And I'm Terry Pop.
Well, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for all the extra efforts you put forth in the community, helping at the events. I know National Night Out's a big one. CAT teams come out and help quite a bit, and it's great to have you in the community. Thank you. And anything else you want to say before we begin the questioning?
No, thank you for having me out. I really appreciate it. I love talking about the fire department, so it's a good place to do it.
Ladies, want to begin?
The first question that we have here is, what areas do you serve?
We cover parts of most of Round Lake Beach, most of Round Lake Heights, most of the town of Round Lake, about half of Round Lake Park, and about half of Haynesville, and then the unincorporated areas in between.
Yeah, we actually have a little map up here with the area, and it's kind of jig-jagged on some areas there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they drew those boundaries, but just like most political maps.
It can be confusing sometimes when
yes.
There's areas where half of a yard is in our district and half is in someone else's.
Yeah, we did the same thing with the school districts years ago when they expanded the community, built some houses, some bedrooms were one school district, all the other bedrooms another school district. But they got that fixed.
Yeah.
Our second question is, what is a fire protection district and how is it governed?
Fire protection district is similar to a school district or a park district or a library district. We are just an area set up to provide fire protection services for the community and also to take in the unincorporated areas. So ours is continuous. The fire districts are set up because there's a town, one town over here and one town over here, and they might have each had a fire department, but that area in between and all around them needed to be covered. And that's where fire districts kind of came from. We're governed by a 5-person board. Our board members are appointed by the county board chairman, and they serve 3-year terms.
Is the fire department all full-time personnel, or do you have part-time or on-call or volunteer personnel?
Right now we have 49 people who work a full-time schedule, 24 hours on and 48 hours off. There's 4 of us that work, 4 of those 49 work day shift, but the others work a 24-hour shift. And we also have 18 volunteer part-time firefighter paramedics who come from home and work part-time shifts at the station, but they're not full-time career employees.
Is that more for people that are trying to get into the full-time business?
Yeah, most communities, when they're hiring someone for full-time, they're looking for someone who's already certified as a firefighter and a paramedic. So a lot of our part-time personnel, they come in without any experience, and we help them get trained in, firefighter, EMT, and then paramedic, and that's how they start their career. And they can, it's nice. We're able to help people get started in their careers, but then they end up moving on to somewhere else, to another fire department, but then we miss them.
You've kind of touched on this a little bit, but are all firefighters paramedics, and are all paramedics firefighters, and what's the difference?
In Round Lake, everybody, except for those who are in the process of training, everyone's a firefighter and at least an EMT, so that they can respond on the ambulance calls. All of the full-time personnel are paramedics. I still have my paramedic certification because, about 78 to 80% on a given year of what we do is on the ambulance. So it's important that we have the paramedics there to do those life-saving measures while they're out there. I always tell people, it's great to think that you're going to save somebody as a firefighter in a burning building. For every one person you pull from, and Derek can attest to this, he's in the audience here, but for every one person you pull out of a building, there's probably a dozen or 2 dozen people that you save on the ambulance with what you do. So it's, the paramedics, they're the ones that you see zooming up and down in the ambulance day in and day out, and the one that most of the people have their contact with every year.
What drew you to the field you are in?
I was one of those kids that, where I grew up in Pennsylvania, and every time, they just blew the whistle. I lived about a block away, so I would run down there even at a young age and start watching the fire trucks pull out. I'd sit there and wait till the volunteers pulled up and took out in the fire trucks, and I just sort of always knew that that's what I was going to do. I don't even know, I guess it's, must be born in me. The police officers probably have the same sort of tales of you just kind of knew it. I always enjoyed, the action, and then as I got older, it was, and as I've been in the job longer, it really, what's kept me in it is helping people and responding to people in need and just trying to make somebody's day a little bit better. So,
I think all of us kids have gone through the police officer, the firefighter, the astronaut.
right, cowboy.
But you stuck with yours.
Yeah, I stuck with mine. Mine wouldn't go away. It didn't wash off.
What's the benefit of having a separate district rather than being a department or of a municipality?
Well, the nice part of being a fire district is we can provide that fire service to the multiple communities. Not each individual community doesn't have to have a fire chief and a lot of the other things that go along with it. We provide that area for, it's about 24 square miles and 52 roughly 1,000 people. If Round Lake Beach were to have a fire department, and Round Lake Park were to have a fire department, and Round Lake Heights and Round Lake Reach to have their own fire department, that would be pretty cumbersome. And so we're able to do that, and we're also able to, as part of the fire district, we get those unincorporated areas, and we can provide service to people out, on the west side of town or down in the southern parts of town where there isn't any municipality that they're part of.
And I'm sure the equipment also, there's very expensive equipment nowadays.
Right.
Not each community has to have their own. You have one district, you guys
Right.
have especially those ladder trucks. Were those
Oh,
like
yeah.
$250,000 or $500,000 or?
Oh, no, a ladder truck now is just a little bit under $1 million.
Oh, boy.
The way ours is, with the basket in the front, it's probably a little more than $1 million.
Wow. So that alone saves the taxpayers tons of money.
Yeah. And it's a lot more efficient.
Yes.
Well, that leads into the next question. How is the district funded? From tax dollars, user fees?
We have a combination of tax dollars that we collect. About roughly 85% of our money comes from taxes that are levied against the property in the district. And then we also charge users of the ambulance for ambulance transports. There's no fee if the ambulance comes out and checks you or just talks to you or helps you, but there is a fee for service to be transported to the hospital. Most of the time, those fees are covered by health insurance or Medicare, and we don't balance bill. We just collect what we can collect from the insurance company or from Medicare. And then we do have small amounts that we get for permit fees and some of those types of things, fire alarm monitoring, that we are able to collect also.
Okay, the next question is, since the fire department is a separate entity, in what ways does it interact with the village departments such as public works, police, building, and community development?
We interact with the individual municipalities every day. Whether right now we have an agreement with the village of Round Lake Beach where we help with some of their property maintenance inspections, and we also work with their building department for plan review and business inspections as we go along. We work with Public Works with water hydrants and some of those issues, and we do that with all the different communities. We work with the police departments often. We had a big fire over in Round Lake a few weeks ago, and we worked closely with their police department and their building department to make sure that the building was safe and that the cause was determined, and that we worked through all of those things to help just be with the continuity of making sure that everybody was safe and working well. We really believe that we're part of the community, and we want to work and do whatever we can to help make the community better. If we can help the village of Round Lake Beach with something, we'll do that, because that'll help all the people in Round Lake Beach, and we're happy to help. You know, we all win when one person wins.
Remember when I first got on the board as a trustee in '95, we had several issues with some of the fire hydrants that were out there being inoperable. And that was one of the things we tried to work on as quick as possible, because the fire department brought to our attention and say, hey, you know, there's a fire here, we got to run a hose way from over there.
And now we have there is great water supply in all of the communities. But yeah, we're really happy with that. Makes our job a lot easier.
Yes.
Cleanup especially.
The next question. The county is exploring the consolidation of E911 systems. How would a consolidation of the various E911 systems impact the district?
We're lucky here in the Round Lake communities. All of our 911 calls are answered by CENTCOM over in Round Lake Beach over there at the Public Works facility. So that really works well for us. Our calls don't get transferred. If someone dials 911, it goes right there, and then action gets taken immediately on that call, depending on where it's at. That's most of our calls, and you know, in all of the Round Lake communities. We do have areas that we cover where you call 911 and your call might go to the county dispatch center over in Libertyville, and then it gets transferred back to CENTCOM. I don't know if anybody's ever been on a 911 call where you dial 911 and they say, what's your emergency? And they say, hold on, we're going to transfer you. That's not the most efficient way to do that. To get, you know, the best way to have is 0 transfers. You want to have that call go right from you want that person that's answering that call to give that information to someone who's going to then send the units out as quickly as possible. The more consolidation, at least in my opinion, I know that there's a lot of other factors that go along with it, cost and some of these other things, but you know, if you can eliminate those call transfers, the time for the departments to respond is going to be faster, and the chance that somehow that call is going to get lost or dropped or sent the wrong place are going to go down, and that's always a good thing.
It's consolidation is one of those issues that can be very beneficial to a lot of communities. Unfortunately, so many communities feel that if the dispatchers aren't in their town, they're not going to know the roads, they're not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's so untrue nowadays. With all the computer-aided dispatch,
Yeah.
It's come light the years ahead of that.
Yeah, and you know, again, I'm speaking from as someone who's really spends and has spent the last 32 years of their life trying to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. So I know that there are a lot of other factors, and there's a lot of other things that come into play with consolidation, but as you know, in my end goal of getting from the fire station to somebody's house as quickly as possible, consolidation is a really good way to help that process along.
Well, as you know, Greg, I'm on the county's working group to work on consolidation for the whole county. I know you've been following that. You've been in a lot of the meetings also. Yeah. And they keep on pushing forward on this, and I think there will be a model eventually where we're going to see a lot of consolidation, hopefully off of CENTCOM's model. Because at CENTCOM, well, we have the Round Lake area, we have Barrington, we have Antioch, we have a lot of different communities that aren't right here that are all being dispatched, and it's working wonderfully.
Yeah.
And we do it at a good cost compared to a lot of other systems that are out there. So if we can expand our model, we'll be on board. If they want to do something weird, you know, we'll stay in our own little world.
Yeah,
then.
we'll keep an eye on it.
Yes.
But yeah, you know, eliminating call transfers is
it's
a
huge.
fantastic way to ensure that the call goes where it needs to go.
And seconds count in a lot of those
They
emergencies.
do. Yep.
Seems like I always get the questions that lead into what you guys are talking about. Does the Greater Round Lake Fire Protection District have a mutual aid agreement with surrounding fire districts or departments?
We do. We're part of the MABUS organization in Illinois, which means that you know, at any moment we could be called to go anywhere in the state. We routinely provide mutual aid to other towns. We have mutual aid come into our community also. Again, the example of the fire in Round Lake a couple of weeks ago, we had towns from, you know, apparatus and equipment and manpower from Lincolnshire, Salem, Wisconsin. They were all in our town, and we would go the same way for them. You know, as being part of the MABUS organization, we are willing to do that. That's part of what we do, knowing that at some point we're going to get that back again. We also have regular automatic aid agreements. If you ever see our engine zooming down 83 in the middle of the afternoon, they're probably going to a call for a fire alarm or a structure fire somewhere in Grays Lake. We go there often. They come to us often when we have a fire alarm or possible structure fire. Fox Lake comes over, Lake Villa comes down, depending on where the call is located at. It just helps us get enough manpower and equipment on the scene quickly so that we can get to work and start taking care of the emergencies.
And coincidentally enough, Mavis is dispatched out of CENTCOM for the, was
They
it
are.
Quad 4?
For Mavis Division 4, which covers all of
Division
Lake
4,
County.
yeah.
Yeah, and CENTCOM is the Mavis dispatch for our Lake County. So.
Okay, just recently the village has entered into an agreement with the fire district to assist with annual inspections of both commercial and residential properties. How do these type of cooperative efforts benefit the residents of the village and district?
We looked at that when we were able to, and we were glad to be able to partner with the village of Round Lake Beach to help with their property maintenance and business inspections. We're able to, as a fire district, it benefits us. We bring people off duty to come in and do those inspections. That gives us more people in town during the day. Typically when we have lower availability of people to come back on calls. It also gets us out in the community. It gets us familiar with the buildings, familiar with the streets, lets us know what's going on. If there's a property that's a hazard to the fire department, we know about it before we have to get there instead of trying to figure it out when we get there. It lets us interact with the community and helps us get our safety message out to people. And for the village, what we're able to do is provide that service at a fairly low cost so that they can save money to the taxpayers also.
That's, I think, especially beneficial for the businesses that you guys go into and inspect. You guys have all the training you need to do the inspections properly. You know what to look for based on fire hazards or other possible accident scenes that you can prevent rather than wait until afterwards. So.
The best fire is the one that never happens.
Exactly.
We're never as safe as when we're just sitting in the fire station. So if we can keep any fire from happening, we'll do whatever we can to make that happen, because that's the best way for us to make sure that we put 30 years in and are done, and we don't have to worry about getting in a car accident on the way or having a heart attack or something, God forbid, something happening while you're inside in an emergency. So.
Next question, are there other areas in which you envision the district and village could cooperate?
We're always looking for ways to partner so that we can be more efficient and so that we can better serve the community, whether it's standing by at the football games or helping out in the schools, or we're always looking for creative ways to try and reduce cost and be more efficient for everybody. It really helps out for everybody. Like I said, if we don't look at something as what's going to just be a win for the fire district. We want to make sure it's a win for the community. So we want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can, as efficiently as we can, and to try and save wherever we're able to do that.
Okay, our next question says there has been much discussion and media reports concerning the fiscal condition of the state of Illinois. How has the fire district been impacted, if at all, but with the state's financial woes? We don't have a big financial connection with the state of Illinois. We don't receive any funding from the state. Again, all of our tax money comes from taxes that are levied against the property owner or fees that we collect. So as far as that goes, it doesn't have a huge impact on us. What it does do, though, is it sort of stains the image that all government has. When you see these sort of inefficiencies or you hear about these kinds of things, it makes everybody who is out there every day trying to help and be part of solutions, makes them kind of look bad. And that's where we probably have our biggest hurdle to come over. People sort of lump government all together, and sometimes that you can kind of get mixed in the mess there. I think the mayor can attest to that.
Yeah, absolutely. They look at politicians downstate and they feel like they're all that way, local, everyone else, and that's not true. You see a lot of local people that work very hard, they work together cooperatively as we do, and we get a lot accomplished. I just wish they would learn from us.
Yeah, and it is. It really is. When you look out out in the streets and you see what people are doing and volunteering and helping and taking their time to do, and you hear a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of really good people doing a lot of really good things every day.
Yes.
Other than traditional duties of responding to fires, accidents, and persons with illnesses, are there any other services you provide?
We provide technical rescue response as part of our agreements with other departments in Lake County. We have, so we do high angle rescue, below ground rescue, confined space rescue. We'll respond to all of those types of calls. We also do water rescue. We have a boat and divers. We'll also respond with those units, mutual aid to help out other communities if there's a dive or an issue there. And we also do hazardous materials response for accidents. All of our people are trained to the operations level of hazardous materials, but we also have some technicians who are the individuals who put the suits on, the big orange suits, and go in and take care of problems. They do that in our town. We also help other communities with that. And we do fire prevention inspection, building pre-plans, and plan reviews that we do to try and help out the community. We also provide education to schools for the school kids, and also CPR classes for the public. And we'll try and help out if wherever we can. If you got a smoke detector that's not working, we'll send somebody out and help you get your smoke detector fixed. We'll look for carbon monoxide in your home, or if your cat's in a tree, give us a holler. We'll see what we can do. So.
Next question, what is a state fire marshal and what part do they play in a local fire department?
The state fire marshal is the fire prevention authority for the state. They're appointed by the governor. They, for the local fire departments, they help with some fire inspection in schools and daycare centers, but they also are the training and certifying body that we use. When I say, I was a certified, I'm a certified firefighter, and a lot of other certifications, specialty certifications. Those are all done through the authority of the state fire marshal, and we meet their training requirements, and they do a lot with our local fire training, as well as, like I said, some types of business inspections, fuel tank inspections, boiler inspections. They oversee a lot of that stuff also.
Do you simply put out the fires, or do you take part in any of the investigation?
We do. We have 7 employees who are certified cause and origin specialists. They will determine what the cause, what started the fire. They'll do an investigation on that. We don't have anybody that has police powers or arrests anybody, but we do assist in the investigations of fires to determine what the cause was, and how it could maybe be prevented in the future. We work with insurance companies to help the people get back in place and get what reports they need and those kinds of things. But we participate in. We have 2 active investigations that we're assisting with now, one in Grays Lake and one in the town of Round Lake, where they're trying to work with the police departments to figure out what went on, I guess.
Okay, there are sometimes large fires that might be bigger than just one department can handle. How do you coordinate with other fire departments in cases like this?
We have that's already planned out and ready to go. We could, in one radio transmission, we could get as many as 24 fire apparatus in our town. We're part of the MABUS system, and part of that system has it set up so that we're on every level of alarm, they know what units are coming and where they're coming from, and and a lot of times what they're going to do when they get there. They also cover, some respond to the scene and some respond to cover our station in case we have other calls while that's going on. It's all planned out in advance. We're lucky that way.
We recently experienced a large fire in the downtown district of Round Lake. What does it take to respond to a fire of that size and magnitude, and what role does the fire district play after a fire has been extinguished?
That was a unique call for us. It was just, I don't know, maybe 75 feet from the door of the fire station. So they pulled out, and as the tone went out, they could see the smoke starting to pour out of the building. So it required everybody to kind of get in place and start working right away. But it all starts with, a lot of times people will see they call it the fire SUV that gets there. That's our battalion chief, who's the shift commander for the day. They are the ones who are going to set up the call, start the incident command system, which is a system that we use and all the other fire departments use it too. So everybody knows where their place is going to go, what's going to happen when we get there. Everybody knows there's going to be one incident commander, and people are going to start to report to them. We're going to divide the scene up into divisions or branches, and so that we can start to attack it and be coordinated when we're doing it. But it really all starts from the first person that gets on the scene. They'll establish that and start that command system, and we'll just kind of build it out from there, depending on how big the fire is. If you listen to a garage fire or the fire that we had in Round Lake, they all start off the same way. The first few minutes all sound the same, and then it's just a matter of where we stop building it is really how it goes together. But most of the time, they'll all fall into place and go pretty much the same way.
What are the biggest preventable causes of fires you've come across?
I would say probably the last few years, the most common cause of fire that we've had in our district and that we've responded to in other districts has been just the inappropriate disposal of material, whether it's smoking material, whether it's ashes from your fireplace or your barbecue. People will take those, they'll think they're out, they'll dump them in their garbage can, they'll put a cigarette into a trash can, a waste can in the house, or into where they think is a safe bucket, and that's what has caused most of the fires in the last few years around here. Candles in the home is another one. I always say, if you don't want to have a fire in your house, don't have a fire in your house. They can cause tons of damage, and you think they're safe because they're around all the time, and all it takes is one little, one thing to get too hot or one thing to get too close to something that's combustible, and you have a large fire in your house. So if you don't want to have a fire, don't have a fire. That's kind of how I look at it.
Makes a lot of sense, especially if kids around. Kids are always playing and spinning around, and candles on a table or something get knocked off so easily. I
was reading an article in an NFPA publication a few years ago, and the individual who's in charge of candle safety for the National Fire Protection Association had a candle fire in his house, and he thought everything was safe, and he thought he was doing everything the right way, and his cat walked across the counter and knocked the candle over and set some stuff on fire in his kitchen, and now he had to talk about that for the rest of his life, probably. So.
Okay. With the advance of smoke alarms, CO alarms, sprinklers, building materials, and fireproof architecture, have you observed a large drop in residential and commercial fires? Yeah,
there has been a large drop in fires over the last probably 15 or 20 years. There's been some great advances in building codes, in the technology for putting sprinkler systems into buildings. They've been able to bring the price way down, especially on the residential sprinkler systems. Also with the advancements in early warning systems, with the elimination of some false alarms just through better technology and earlier notification that something's going on. It's done a lot to reduce the number of fires in all of the communities all over the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have an ordinance for residential sprinklers, and taking quite a bit of heat about that still. Builders want to build, they don't want to put the sprinklers in, but it's almost cheaper to put them in when you're building a house, and I thought it was only like $2,000 or $3,000 on the average.
Yeah, they have, it doesn't all have to be in pipe. You can use plastic tubing, so it runs really easily. They say that, and I don't know this, if I was building a new home, there's no way I wouldn't build it without a sprinkler system.
Right.
But for what you could save, it just it seems like pennies on the dollar. But most of the time they say that it's cheaper than the flooring that you put down.
Wow.
To put the sprinkler system in new construction, and people think of it as a fire extinguishing device, but it's also a life safety device. Yeah. If you can get yourself whatever you can do to get out of that house that's on fire, that will help. And they are a tremendous. I can't say anything bad about sprinklers. Once in a while you'll hear that they leak. Once in a while you'll hear that a pipe burst. But for all of the good that they do, it's amazing that they're not everywhere.
Yeah, I was convinced when former Chief Maplethorpe had the trailer with the sprinklers inside of it, and you can see you light a fire without no sprinkler, how quickly it consumes everything.
Right, right.
And then with the sprinkler, it's like boom, gone.
It's gone. And you got some water, you got a little bit of a mess, but it's cleaned up and you're good to go.
Yeah, but people can get out if they need to get out without having to go through fire. So
Yep.
it's amazing.
And working smoke detectors, if nothing else, make sure you have working smoke detectors in your house. They're make a huge difference. Nowadays, the technology has it so that they can be hooked all together through a radio signal. So if one smoke detector goes off, all of the smoke detectors in your house go off. I just had those put into my house so that if, in the old days, you used to have to hardwire them all together. You don't have to do that anymore. I think for $79 or something, you can get this, these 3 smoke detectors where they're all hooked together
Nice.
to a radio alarm, and it's the technology is just advancing all the time, and it's important that people take them seriously and look at them.
I know you guys make a big push every October, change your batteries and check your smoke
Yeah,
detectors.
Fire Safety Month. Yeah,
Yes.
we're always out there making sure people trying to get the smoke. We're happy to come out and help you if you can't put your smoke detector in, or you can't afford a smoke detector, or we'll bring you a smoke detector. We really want. We don't want to have to go in and get anybody. We're
Right.
again, the fire that we can prevent is the best one for us to fight. So we'd rather fight it long before it starts.
Yeah.
Well, we're down to our last official question before the mayor will open up the floor to the public. First of all, I want to preface it, but I was working and I was in charge the night of the historic floods we had here. I was eating a burrito in the Big Lots parking lot, and I watched the rain start, and within an hour, we probably had a couple feet of standing water in Big Lots. I remember I felt like Chief Brody from Jaws. We need a bigger boat. This is going to be more. This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And I remember the fire calls started coming out one after the other. I mean, they were stacking up. They had to be 50 calls.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with the fire district that night. We had trees falling on houses. We had people being electrocuted, fires, structural collapses, flooding up to. I mean, I had officers that were treading water up until they're. And the fire department was in there as well. It was extremely impressive. They were calm. It was well organized from the dispatch, and they prioritized everything very effectively, and like they're risking their lives. I mean, they're going into situations where there's gas leaks, there was electricity issues with the water. So it was very impressive. I wanted to say a very commendable job by the fire department. I watched it from the beginning until 7 o'clock in the morning when I got off, and they did not stop. They didn't take a break. It was one after the other, and they did it very admirably. So.
Thank you. I really do appreciate hearing that.
And for the last question, for those who are seeking to become a firefighter, what advice would you give them, and what is the process?
The process now is like I had said before. Most places are requiring that you be certified as a firefighter and a paramedic before you get a full-time career. But if someone's looking to get into the fire service now, the college now has a program where you can go through, and part of your degree you'll get certified as a firefighter too, and you'll also get an EMT certification and have an associate's degree in fire science when you're finished. It's a new program that they're working with. It's a great way to go through. Also, they could talk to their local fire departments, talk to us. We have on our website, roundlakefire.org, there's a link you can apply to be part of the fire department. A couple of times a year, we bring people on and get them trained and work. We do their background checks and some of those things, and hire the people that we think can do the work, and we'll get them through the training and those kinds of things. But contacting your local fire department and see if there's any volunteer or part-time opportunities. Again, the college is a great resource for people who are looking to get into the fire service and get some good experience out there through that.
Well, our police department, our police commission actually does testing whenever we need to get a list. Does the fire department work similar to that, or do you guys just hire?
No, we do the same thing. We have a board of police and fire commissioners, and every 2 years for entry-level testing, we advertise. Our requirements are, like most places, are firefighter and paramedic for full-time. It's really difficult for us to bring a full-time person on and then spend a year and a half or so getting them trained up and ready to go. So we look for people who are already certified before we get them to work. And then we establish a list. There's a written component. There's a physical component where you have to prove. There's a test that you can take. You prove it by showing us a completion certificate that you went to one of these areas and did this physical testing. Then there's some pretty rigorous background checking. Another thing that if you're thinking about getting into the fire service is you got to try and think about staying out of trouble too. You know, if you're up against somebody who, for the same job, and they've got a bunch of stuff in their background, and same with the police, you know, it's going to be really hard for you to overcome that stuff later. So it is important to keep yourself out of trouble too.
That was your last question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A couple things. Have you ever had to save a cat out of a tree?
I have, more than once, actually. We've done that, you know, and I always tell our guys, if they, you know, I know that it seems like something that you don't want to do, but we don't get to pick what somebody's emergency is. And for somebody, you know, I've seen plenty of times where there's kids in the yard crying, or a parent there who doesn't know what to do. And, you know, for us, we go up and down those ladders all the time. You know, we don't like getting bit by cats, but it happens. And so yeah, no, we have. I've actually gotten a model airplane out of a tree before. We had an expensive model
Thank you for
airplane.
that.
I actually got a call one day to get a bird out of a tree. Someone had a fancy little cockatoo or something, and it was in the tree, and we went up and got it. So yeah, no, we're here just to try and help people's day be a little bit better, and however we can do that. And again, you know, what somebody's cat in a tree might be the worst day they ever had, and we're happy to come and help if we can.
Our pets are part of our family in most cases.
Yep,
so.
yep, yeah. I know my wife likes the dog better than she likes me, so if something happened to our dog, she'd throw me in harm's way, so.
And I know we joke about, you know, obviously the fire, being a fireman is obviously inherently dangerous with structural collapse and the actual fire itself, but we just had an incident in Grays Lake a week ago where the people that the 3 officers saved actually had a gunshot wound. So the firemen never know what they're getting into. You know, a situation where you're going to rescue with someone you think is maybe had smoke inhalation, was overcome by the actual flames, and it turns out to be a victim of a violent episode. So.
Yeah, and you know, even on rescue calls, you know, we always have the police with us, but you know, those are unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get yourself into, especially for the officers. You know what it's like to go into a domestic situation, and it can be, who knows what's going to happen or what's going to come out of that. And you know, our guys and girls go to those kinds of calls all the time too, and you never know really what you're going to get until you get in there and figure it out. So
I know for a while the fire department, you guys had housed some equipment that was used throughout the area. Are you still housing anything over there?
We still do. We have quite a bit of specialized equipment for the county-wide team that is housed at Station 3. We also have some equipment, the county has some equipment that's staged at Haynesville, next to the Village Hall there, that we use for you know, structural collapse. Some of it's for trench collapse. High angle, we also have a large contingent of EMS supplies there in case something, we have a large EMS incident.
You say it was one of the foam trucks. Do we still have a foam truck?
We do. We have a foam. It was a retired crash rescue vehicle from the military that we have. It carries 4,000 gallons of water and 400 gallons of foam, so we can convert that all into foam if we have to. It gets used quite a bit when they had that large propane fire up in Gurney last year. It responded to that, and they used quite a few hundred gallons of foam to help put that fire out. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's certain fires that water is not going to help with. It's
right,
going to move the fire around.
Yep, and you know, most people don't know, but every day there's tons and tons of petroleum products going up and down the rail lines through the communities. And you know, at any time something could happen, and we're ready to respond and help how we can.
What we can do to prevent those also is always beneficial. So.
Yes, those are the best ones to prevent, because they're going to be a disaster.
And we touched base a little bit on consolidating 911 services. Has there been much talk about consolidating fire districts from where they are now into larger districts?
No, there hasn't been a lot of talk about that yet. I'm sure that it's coming. And you know, if that's what it came to, that's what it came to. We would embrace it however we had to. But there hasn't been a lot of talk about consolidating fire districts as of yet.
Yeah, the state of Illinois has really been pushing a lot on the local level to consolidate, and I'm sure that will come up, as well as communities like ours. We're a fairly big community, but there's a lot of smaller ones out there that they say should consolidate, and a lot of times they're right. And A lot of residents nowadays get so confused because there's so many people to vote for between the park district and the school district
Yeah.
and a village and this district and that district.
Yeah.
They don't know who all the players are anymore.
Right,
It makes it
right.
difficult.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in the future with that.
Yeah, it can be confusing. I mean, I know a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize, what goes on at a fire district, and
Yeah.
we're, again, I'm happy to come out here and talk about what we do and how we do it and all of that stuff. We want to. We're the community's fire department, and if somebody is walking by and wants to come on in. We're happy to show you. We'd love to talk about what we do. One of the biggest things that we have to worry about, and every day we're learning more and more about it, is the health and the safety of the people who work at the fire station. They're getting more and more information about how the gear and the products of combustion that we're exposed to causes cancer, early heart attacks. There's just the wear and tear on a person's body from doing that type of work for so long. That's really where our focus has been lately, is making sure we can get get our people out the other end of this career. We work really hard to get them in here. We want to keep them here, and we want to get them out the other side, and we want them to have a long life after that. And so that's our biggest challenges now are trying to overcome some of those things. We're putting in new procedures into place where, and you'll start to see it, if you see a fire in your neighborhood, the firefighters are going to come out and they're going to get hosed off, and they're going to get all the soot cleaned off of them, and they're going to take their gear off, and they're going to put it in a plastic bag, and they're going to take it back to the station and wash it. And we just got a federal grant to have exhaust systems put into our stations, so that when the vehicles start up, those exhaust fumes aren't just blowing into the station. They're going to get taken through hoses out and put out the back, so that the people who are running there and working in the fire station and running to the call aren't getting big lungs full of soot and exhaust fumes. They're finding that does terrible things to your lungs, but also to your heart and to your brain, and so that's where our real push is just trying to make sure that the people who are out there answering the calls and helping the community are able to do it for a long time. That's what our biggest challenge is now.
Other questions?
It's not a question, it's a comment. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I had to call 911 for an emergency at home. Mm-hmm. And kudos to the fire department and the police department. I was on the phone, told them what happened. The person that answered the phone stayed with me on the phone and said, "Do you want me to stay with you?" And I said, No, I'm okay. No, let me stay on the phone with you. And I said, no, and before I knew it, they were knocking on the door. I had the fire department and the police department, and it was 1, 2, 3. And I'm from Chicago, born and raised, and I've only been up here 10 years.
Yeah.
It was the first time I had a call, and I was highly impressed with the service received.
Yeah, thank you.
So kudos to you and your men.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I spend a lot of my day at a desk and worrying about numbers and things, but there's 67 dedicated people, hardworking people who go out every day and answer those calls and knock on those doors and get people to the hospital and take them back. And they really they do the work that, sometimes I get credit for, but I don't get to do that often. I mean, it really, when you see those people on the street, and the other people that I always try and think about is their families. When they're with you, their families are at home, or, a lot of nights, 1 out of every 3 nights, they don't get to kiss their kids goodnight or be there in the morning to put them on the bus. And the sacrifices that they make, not only I talked about before, what happens with their health, and but also what they give up to come in and do that stuff. I'm just happy to be around those people every day, and thank you for letting us know that it worked out well for you.
And her cat's fine, thank you.
Those dispatchers, they do amazing work, and they have really hard work, because they pick up that phone, they have to get that information out of that person, and they have to keep that person calm, and then they hang up and they go to the next call, and that's hard. We get to finish the call. We get to be out there, burn off our energy. Somebody calls CENTCOM and says, "Oh, my baby's not breathing," and all that adrenaline starts pumping through. They do an amazing job, and usually at CENTCOM they have 1 or 2 call takers, so that person answers the phone and determines what the emergency is and then gives it to a police dispatcher or gives it to a fire dispatcher. Usually that's the person, the call taker stays on the phone with you. They'll give medical instructions. They'll tell you what you can do to help the situation. But every call we go on, we have police with us. They're great. We can't thank them enough for coming and making us safe. And the dispatchers, they coordinate all of that. They take tons of training. Every executive board or 911 board meeting we go to, they talk about the hours of training that all the people got, and they really are great professionals. And I think that the Round Lake, all of the Round Lake areas are so lucky to have that asset that is CENTCOM, because we do get that. It's we all talk about this consolidated dispatch. Well, it already is happening. It's happening every day over at CENTCOM. 911 Lotus Drive, and they're making sure that police and fire are all going to the right place. It really would be a great model for the county. I mean, it works so well for us. And I guess that's why when I say consolidated dispatch is a good thing, it's because I watch it work every day, and I'm sure
Absolutely, yes.
Rich knows the same thing. It works, and Gil, it works so well every day, and the professionals just taking the call and sending the people where they need to go.
Yeah, we were one of the first in the county to be moving into phase 2, where I think is dealing with the triangulation of cell phones better and things like that. One of the first to do the text to 911. So
Yeah.
a lot of firsts that CENTCOM's done that a lot of the
Yeah.
other agencies haven't, and we're
Right.
proud of those.
Yeah, it's a great facility and great people that work there.
Yes, they are. Any other questions?
How many calls have we do a year?
Fire calls,
And rescue? It's unreal.
yeah, fire and rescue, this year, we were just talking about it this morning. I think we're going to get to 4,900. Emergency responses, that's actual people out the door going somewhere to do something. Last year we were at about 4,750, but this year we think we're going to probably be over 4,900. So, yeah, most days they do somewhere between 15 and 19 calls a day for service. So they're busy, they're working hard. Nobody ever gets to sleep through the night. So. At least for the fire district, we do have a Facebook page. We put information up there from time to time. It's really just for information. We don't use it as an emergency way to communicate with the community. There are some places where they are doing that. They're using a Twitter account, and they're encouraging all of their residents to have a Twitter account. And if there's a boil order or a tornado coming or any of these things, they use that Twitter account to send that information out. We just haven't gotten there yet. I'm sure it's something that we're going to try and do. But again, the best way to get a hold of us is 911. That's somebody is there answering that phone all the time. We can't guarantee that someone's going to be there to get your Twitter and send an ambulance or send a fire truck. So.
Other questions? Again, we thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Greg. Next month, we're going to be taking our show on the road. We're going to go over to the Central Lake County Joint Action Water Agency over in Lake Bluff. They pump our Lake Michigan water for us and several other communities. Do a little tour of the facility with the executive director, Gerald Blennis. So we're looking forward to that. Hope you all can watch that on TV, and we'll make it available on YouTube and on our website as we always do. And Greg, always try to pass on a little Round Lake Beach pin to all of our people that join us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I had a great
Thanks for
time.
having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.